Guys, I need one favor. Please rate and review this podcast on Apple. If you are listening to it on Apple, we'd be number one, but we don't have enough reviews. We got the downloads, not the reviews. It's bureaucracy. Help us. Every episode of The Gauge is brought to you by Bill Fick Ford and the WCRA. Guys, Bill Fick Ford is the #1 Super Duty dealer in the country for the 4th year in a row. You guys have heard me rant and rave about Bill Fick Ford for the absolute best buying experience in the car industry, truck industry. Bill Fick Ford's the place to go. I bet you remember the old ad where I said I was getting a new Super Duty. Well, here's the keys for that. Bill Fick Ford delivers, guys. No bull discounts, no bull interest rates, the best buying experience you can get. And if you are not local to Huntsville or the Houston area, he'll deliver it to you just like he did to me. Bill Fick Ford. Rodeo Corpus Christi has nearly tripled its added prize money from 2019 and will be one of the largest payout rodeos this summer. That's $545,000 with no entry fees. Rodeo Corpus Christi will be the first stop of WCRA's Triple Crown of Rodeo. The only way to qualify for the Rodeo Corpus Christi is by nominating your rides and runs with the WCRA. You can win $1 million by nominating your rides and runs and earning points with the WCRA. Through the Triple Crown of Rodeo, the WCRA will award this $1 million cash prize to any one athlete or collective of athletes who win first place at any 3 consecutive WCRA major rodeos. A common misconception with the WCRA is that it is only for the pros. That's the farthest thing from the truth. It's designed for the underdogs to have their fair chance. If you feel like you have the ability to compete against the best in the world, but maybe you don't feel like it. Maybe you can't afford to go down the road for a full year. Maybe you got a job. Well, the WCRA is made for you. The WCRA has awarded more than $8.5 million to rodeo athletes in just a couple of years. To learn more, visit WCRArodeo.com and learn how you can earn a spot at Rodeo Corpus Christi and possibly be Rodeo's next millionaire.
This is The Gauge with host Chance Conradu.
Are you freaking serious? It's Conrado. This is The Gauge, and I am Chance Conrado. On this episode of the podcast, we have got the #1 barrel racer in the world for 2021, Shelley Morgan, in the house. She kicked ass at Kissimmee. She's really down to earth. Apparently, she was a basketball coach, and there's some weird thing going on with watermelon. I'm not really sure. Check it out.
I have to say, so y'all, like, the good thing about what I just did is they can edit and all. That not so right now, right?
No, it could be edited.
Okay.
We just don't.
They can't.
It's not live.
Okay.
It was live during the NFR, but not here.
Okay.
He does it. He produces the whole thing and edits it after the fact.
Cool.
So, but if you say something real off color, we'll probably leave it in.
I was trying to do that just if I get stuck. That way, if I'm sitting there going,
He can take dead space out. Yeah, like if you make me really uncomfortable and I have to step away for a minute. Yes.
I won't do that. So are you Ivy's brother?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, we're related.
Is there just the 3 of y'all? Mm-hmm. So you're the only boy in the house.
Yeah. That's why I said we were related. I didn't want her to think I was adopted, maybe. Yep. It's me, her, and Paige.
Cool.
So we all do different things.
Yeah.
Kind of the same things, but
What
different.
does Paige do now?
Paige has a supplement company, horse supplement company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she's got like towers and towers of supplements in their barn.
Oh.
She lives there in Hyco.
Wow.
You know, she hasn't really wanted to. She went for a couple of years and went pretty hard, and then just didn't want to rodeo that much. Her husband tries to go a lot, so
he does
stay home. Yeah.
Well, y'all are kind of all doing the same thing in I mean,
more or less.
Yeah.
Well, you're born into it. You kind of can't get out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, my kids could, but.
Do they want to rodeo? No interest? What do they like to do?
Well, the youngest one is going to A&M now to become an aerospace engineer. What does that have to do with horses?
Was there any sign to you guys that would like be a thing, or were you thinking ranchy kids? I mean, it's always interesting to hear when people don't go the rodeo route.
Well, so we kind of tried to push the rodeo thing on our oldest one, and maybe that's what happened. Because, like, we took him to team roping school up at Decatur, and, I mean, we loaded the steers and saddled his horse for him when he was young, and No interest. Finally,
Really?
I'm like, this is more work on me than it is him, so just forget it. And then we did the play day thing when they were young, but we didn't really. Anyway, the youngest one, we're like, if you want to do it, great. If not, whatever.
Does it bum you guys out at all?
This sounds horrible. Not really, because now I can do it.
You can do what you want to do?
Isn't that bad? Isn't that terrible for a parent to say that?
No, I don't think so, right? Like, it's, especially nowadays, right? Like, it's, like, to rodeo and make that a thing, that's all, you know better than anybody. You're sitting number one in the world right now.
I know.
It is not easy.
No, but it sure is fun.
Yeah. Depends on when it is. 3 a.m. driving in the pickup, not that fun.
Yeah.
That was always my opinion.
No, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've decided that we're past that age. We don't enter anything, you got to drive all night.
Really? Mm-mm. Just pick and choose where you're going to go? Mm-hmm. You have somebody who drives for you if you need to fly in and out? Oh. He must have drove you here today, didn't he?
He did.
Don't look over here because I'm not in the thing.
I know, but we're not officially doing it yet, are we?
Oh, we're doing it.
Oh, we are doing it? I had
Absolutely.
no idea.
We're recording. That's why we don't tell you that. So you're just like, oh, yeah.
I thought we were just doing some pre-discussion.
Nope. Nope. We never tell anybody when we're starting.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, sorry.
Is there going to be an uncomfortable silence now that you've been betrayed?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
What did you grow up rodeoing? Like, what's your background?
I did grow up rodeoing. I've been on a horse pretty much since the time I could sit up, and we didn't really do 4-H, but we did all like the little play days and stuff at home, and that's where I grew up.
Wait. Tell me what a play day is. Is that
play
junior
day?
rodeo?
No. Well, I don't. We called them play days. So I remember on Friday nights we would watch Dukes of Hazzard.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then we would go to the Friday night play day, which consists of like the straightaway barrels, poles, cloverleaf barrels. Oh, they just make up whatever.
It's like a gymkhana kind of thing, maybe?
Yeah, probably. Where you put barrels and poles somewhere, and you make up this pattern, and that's what you're supposed to do, and you say you can do it the fastest.
Who's in charge of these events, these play day events?
Oh gosh, so I did it's called the Canton Trail Riders, and I don't really remember who was in charge when I was young. Just somebody in Canton. It was a lot of fun for the kids, and they have it all the way through adult ages. But it's just somewhere we can go and hang out and have fun, stay out of trouble.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never experienced anything like that. Like we spend all of our time at jackpots, and like we would go to junior rodeos, but never anything. I didn't even do Little Britches rodeos. I
don't think I ever junior rodeoed. When I was in junior high and high school, I did. It was called the CRA, which is the UPRA now. Mm-hmm. So junior high and high school, I guess you kind of call it semi-pro. Is that what they call the UPRA, maybe?
Yeah, circuit rodeos.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Amateur rodeos.
Yeah, amateur rodeos. There you go.
Yep, every state has their little amateur rodeo association where you go and go for the saddle and the small money. That's
what I did in junior high and high school.
Yeah, that's what we did in the summers.
Yeah. And then through college, I really didn't have what I call a rodeo horse much. I was working on short go. Mm-hmm. And so we stayed more around, like you're talking about, like the, what do they call the poor boy rodeos. You've heard of those, haven't you?
The what?
You haven't even heard of poor boy rodeos?
Poor boy rodeos? That was just all the rodeos for me.
I just thought that's what they're called. Like Canton has what they call the Canton Poor Boy Rodeo. I really don't know why it's called maybe it's for poor boys. We went to a bunch of those when I didn't have a amateur or a pro rodeo horse. We would do the poor boy rodeo.
So why did they call them? Because it was cheap entry fees? Is that why?
It's usually like $30 or $40. Which is not really that cheap. I really honestly don't know why they call them pool boys. I just thought that was a thing, and everybody knew what a pool boy rodeo was.
I guess I'm from too far north to know
Maybe
what that is.
So.
Everybody was too proud to admit they were a poor boy. Not me. I'd jump in with anybody.
Yeah, Canton just had their pool boy rodeo a few weeks ago.
Really?
It's still going.
They put added money in it and everything?
I don't think there's any added money.
No. Just like a halter maybe and some bell boots?
Probably not even that. Just you pay your entry fee and you win the money.
Yeah.
They would draw like, you know how team roping is. They would draw tons of teams.
Yep.
Like all night long team roping.
Really?
They got to where they didn't even do team roping during the rodeo. They would just do it.
Like a slack thing?
Yeah. Because everybody get up, 10 times as a header and 10 times as a heeler. And, same person would have 20 runs.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept.
Yes. Yes.
There's so many, people hate this word. Riley hates this word. Weekend warrior team ropers, though.
Right.
I mean, that is like, aside from barrel racing, that's like the biggest Western sports hobby out there.
Right.
Actually, it might be bigger than barrel racing. I don't know. Look at how many members.
They get a lot more entries than barrel racing.
Yeah.
Or should I say maybe not more people, just the people
More
enter a
runs.
whole lot more times.
Yeah, more runs. You have
Yeah.
different partners and the whole deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't do junior rodeo. You did poor boy rodeos. I mean, that's a big jump. Like, you go from the no added money poor boy rodeos to the national finals. I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some stuff in the middle you can tell me about, though.
Well, so like, you know, when I was real young, I had a horse named Macho, and that's who I did the amateur rodeos on in junior high and high school. Then when he wasn't running anymore, I trained a horse named Short Go. I don't know if you've heard of Short Go. I guess I got him. Actually, I was teaching school at that point when I got Short Go and trained him, and he's the one that took me to the NFR in 2009. I was actually teaching school as a math teacher / basketball coach. And
You don't look like your traditional basketball coach. Anybody ever tell you that?
no, I was kind of loud as a basketball coach.
Were you meaner than hell?
I probably wasn't as mean as I should have been.
Really?
But so my basketball coach made me run a lot when I was in basketball, so that's kind of what I carried forward in mine. I made my girls run a lot.
Were you a point guard?
I was.
Yeah.
I was, yeah. No, I was post. No. And then I just came across Short Go, and that's when I kind of quit teaching and went on the road. And then I lost Short Go in 10, and I went to Radar, who was hit and miss, and then on to Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah, but pro rodeo is definitely like, so the athletes in pro rodeo are just their integrity and stuff is pretty cool. I like pro rodeo.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really compare it to anything else,
No,
right?
you can't.
I mean, just look at the barrel racing in 2020 at Globe Life. I mean, it was really unique to see how. I mean, it's like that every year, really, but like everybody's so invested in cheering for the people competing against them. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else like it.
Yeah, and you know, it seems like it gets stronger every year. Like we holler for each other, and I mean, it's really kind of cool because, I mean, you are competing against them, but you aren't. I mean, you are, but you're really competing against the timer. So, I mean, I don't go in there and like if Donna's winning it with a 15 flat, I don't go in there and say, okay, I got to beat a 15 flat. I mean, what are you gonna do to beat a 15 flat? You go in there and you're like, okay, I got to go as fast as I can, and here's my setup, and here's what I need to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely, because the thing is, especially now with like the crop of horses, if you're just talking about the barrel racing, it's the other events too. But I mean, barrel racing in specific, you can really marginalize what's going on.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's horse 1 down to 15. I mean, any one of those horses on any given night can go in there and clock.
I agree.
It's just a game of small marginal errors. That's really all it is at this point,
It
which is
really
not how
is.
it was 15, 20 years ago. I mean, there were clear, definite differences in the horses and the levels. Now, aside from one yellow horse,
Right.
it's just
right. Yeah.
It's anybody's night.
I agree. It's awesome. I love the you know, the friendships and the, like you said, the way we root for each other and help each other, and I don't know.
It's special.
Yeah.
Especially for like the people who go, right?
It is, and it's cool just to be involved in the community like that. I mean, some of our best friends are rodeo people.
Yeah.
Even though they don't live close, they're still our good friends.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where like you kind of never lose touch with people.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool because, like, I know when I first liked Tana Popino and Jeannie Anderson, and it's cool this last year we kind of got to get back. They didn't rodeo as much, but we saw them at a few rodeos, and that's who we rodeoed with when we first joined the PRCA. And like you said, you just don't ever forget them, and it's cool to get back together with them and visit with them.
It is, yeah. Well, and then there's all these times where everybody struggles, right? And some standout person comes out and helps you.
Exactly.
Right? And you're, at least for me, or I know like talking to my sister all the time, she's always trying to help people. And then, you know, if someone helps her, she wants to return that favor, and that's her goal. I mean, her and Emily had a thing at Calgary where, you know, they helped each other, and that's just, you don't do that in team sports. You definitely don't do it in other individual sports.
Right.
You know, like wrestling. I wrestled and things like that. And ain't nobody doing nothing to help you if they're competing against you.
Oh, you were a wrestler?
I wrestle, yeah.
You are, or you are?
No, not currently. Yeah. Yeah,
well,
no,
that's cool. I didn't know that.
As a young person. I'm getting old now. But I want to go back to the teaching thing, right? So what made you want to be a teacher?
So my mom would always tell me when I was in high school, you know, you're really impressionable when you're young like that. A teaching certificate would be a good thing for you to have in your back pocket. So, therefore, I got a teaching certificate.
That was the whole deal?
Yeah, I guess. So I probably liked the basketball coaching more than I did the teaching. I like to be busy all the time. I don't like to sit still. So I guess the coaching kind of was I only did it for 7 years. So
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I just kind of.
What age group did you coach?
I coached high school. I coached varsity basketball at one point, and I taught high school math. I can't even do math now.
Really?
Not really. So my kids are both in college, and they'll bring something home, not for me to help them with, but I'll just look over their shoulder and calculus or something. No, remember I was a high school math teacher, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Wait, so when you go to school to be a math teacher, right? Like, what are the steps that they go through to make sure that you're like able to teach that, or do you just kind of wing it and look at the book and be like, I know answers for 1 through 60 are this?
Well, I don't really know. So you go through school and you just obviously take the classes, and then you do your student teaching under another. And I had a really good student teacher that I learned a lot of her teaching style. She was really good with her kids, and they could understand her real well. And so as far as like them making sure you're good enough, I guess they just trial and error you when they first hire you. And if you're good, they keep you on. If not, they give you the boot. Does that make sense?
Sounds kind of like rodeo.
Yeah.
Except for it's the road that gives you the boot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's your pocketbook that gives you the boot.
I'm telling you. So, all right. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, because I remember like people telling me that the way that they teach you how to teach math is like completely backwards from the way that you actually do it. Is that? There's a word for it.
I tried to just my favorite's algebra. I like geometry. The proofs. Everybody hates proofs in geometry.
Really?
Those are one of my favorite things because there's a reason behind everything. So if you could just figure out the reason, then, you know. But I liked algebra too. Calculus, I was horrible at calculus. And so I just tried to make it easy for the kids and make it in steps where they could understand.
Yeah. So when you were teaching, because it was 7 years you said that you did it?
I think, 7 or 8. I really can't remember. Is that bad?
So No, I mean, I guess it depends on how important that time of your life was too. If you're like, it was just a thing, who cares?
Yeah.
Maybe it was 10 years.
It helped me pay the bills for a little while I was in the middle of training horses.
Yeah.
So that I could do my passion, feed my horses.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. My passion is to feed the horses.
Oh, well, you know what I mean.
I
Have
do.
horses and take care of them.
Yeah, because it's no small, especially if you have a regular like blue collar job like that, or I don't know if you would call teaching a blue collar job. Maybe it is a blue collar job. I don't know, but I mean, it's not a whole heck of a lot of money coming in.
No.
And having horses and a feed bill is a whole heck of a lot of money.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's a big commitment to have horses if you work.
It is. And just finding time to ride those horses, obviously, when you get done with work. Obviously, it's easier when you're a teacher because you got the summers off.
Right.
Maybe that's why I became a teacher.
That's a good idea. I think a lot of people do that freedom, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that way I can rodeo in the summer.
Yeah. Because don't they split, like, your pay? Don't they separate the pay so that you get paid through the summer, too? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think.
It would be tough to budget with no pay.
Right.
Especially if you rodeoed. Like, budgeting's not a strong suit.
No.
Usually. Like, to have no paycheck for 3 months.
Yes, would be hard.
I don't think I could make that work.
I probably couldn't either.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't
It's good
either.
they set it up that way, maybe. So when was it, though, that you looked at your situation? You were teaching. This would be year 7, 8, maybe 6. We don't really know.
I don't really know.
And you were like, I think I'm done with this phase, and I'm going to go and try to do this pro rodeo thing at the highest level.
So actually, when I quit teaching, so my boys, I had my boys while I was teaching, and my mom bought a daycare when my youngest son, I think, maybe it was my oldest son. I think my youngest son was, I don't know. My mom bought a daycare before they actually started school, and so I quit teaching and helped her with her daycare. That way my kids could be in my class, one of those kind of things. I didn't share my kids very well. So
Really?
I was able to be with them while they were growing up, and I was training short go. Actually, I was training short go, like I told you when I was teaching. That was probably my last year of teaching. And then what made me, so we started running short go in 08, and then he made it to the NFR in 09. And the reason I started pro rodeoing was my husband, Rex. When I met him in high school of my junior year.
You guys high school sweethearts?
We are.
Really?
Actually, I met him. He was a football player, and I was a cheerleader, and that's how we met. So on the football field, the cheerleaders were serving the football players watermelon. So that's how we met. Isn't that funny? And
I'm glad there's context to that, because that sounds really weird if you just say it like that.
Okay, well, maybe you should edit that then.
I'm totally kidding. What's that? Rocky Mountain Jean. Oh, okay. Before my time. From what I've seen, I'm glad I missed it.
How old are you?
I don't say that. I'm 29.
The microphone can still hear you.
I'm having an existential crisis with my age as the days and months tick by because what's coming next.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, I don't know if your back just compresses and then you're hunched over when you turn 30. I don't know. I'm scared.
You'll be fine.
Oh.
You'll be fine. Just another year.
Really?
Just keep rocking along like you're rocking.
Do that?
Yeah.
Or just lie about my age for a few more years?
No, don't lie.
You're right. It's not a good thing to do.
So when I had short go, I was UPRAing on him, and he took me to the UPRA finals in Sulphur Springs, Texas, and I didn't have any idea why we were going to the UPRA finals. And we sat there and watched it on a Sunday after church, and I'm like, okay, cool, that was good. And we left, and he goes, it's time for you to buy your pro card. I guess because
was he pro rodeoing at the time?
my husband?
Yeah.
No.
No.
He team ropes, but he was not pro rodeo, and I had never obviously had my pro card. I had just UPRA'd, and I guess we had UPRA'd on short go, and then in 08, short go actually won the UPRA finals, and or that might have been backwards. But anyway, I'm terrible with years, but he took me to the UPRA finals actually before I bought my card and said, let's go pro. So in 08, we got our feet wet on the pro circuit with short go.
Yeah.
Well, we learned a whole lot on the road. We were only on the road for a couple of weeks. We came
Really?
home. Yeah. And so 2009, we're like, we like this. And so we're like, let's go for it all this year. And that's the year short go made the NFR.
Yeah. So what was that first year like? Because in 08, you only went to a few rodeos and you were just like, I need to back off of this. We need one more year. I mean, what was the thought process there to not keep going?
So actually the reason I backed off in 08 is because I've rodeoed all my life, but it's just been come and go rodeos.
Yeah.
So really you don't deal with the stomach issues of your horse not eating and all of a sudden and stuff. So that's kind of what sent us home in 08. Short go would eat anything, and he was always fat. I mean, he could be fat on eating nothing, if that makes sense. He was an easy keeper. So when he quit eating, I mean, you knew.
Something was up.
And therefore we learned about ulcers.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, so that's what sent us home. And we got over all that. And then 09, we're like, okay, we got the world by the tail. Let's go. Let's get it. And
Did the Gastrogard in the trailer and took off?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And then in 09, I mean, he did great. We learned a lot about feet. If you don't have a feet on a horse, you don't have a horse. But so, I mean, it was definitely going into pro rodeo was definitely a learning experience. Living on the road with your horse is definitely different than going and coming to rodeos nightly, like just on the weekends.
Do you think that's because that's a really excellent point, actually. I don't think
Yes.
anybody's ever like said it in that exact way. But I mean, do you think that's kind of the biggest determining factors? If you can keep your horse together on the road, like if anybody has won the right horse and then can keep them together on the road, that maybe that is what can get you there?
I think that is a huge deciding factor on how far you can go.
Yeah.
If you're, if you can't help your horse travel and feel comfortable, then they can't perform at their best. And like you said earlier in this conversation, the horsepower has become so big that Brenda Mays told me one time, if your horse is not performing at their best, there's 10 others that are. Like if your horse is not sound or not happy or something, you're not going to get through it just trying to cover things up, because there's going to be others that are happy and sound. So yes, I think keeping your horse happy and healthy and free of ulcers is a huge factor in making it all the way.
Yeah. It's crazy how quickly ulcers creep up on you too.
Oh my goodness.
Like you can be totally oblivious to it until it's too late.
Had no idea.
Yep.
Had no idea. I mean, I'm like, why is my horse not eating? And, you know, he's like, was he doing this? Is he doing this? I'm like, yep. Well, he's got ulcers. I'm like, what? So, I mean, it's nothing like I said, I never thought about it when I was young, ever. I just went to and from my rodeos. I mean, so like the CRA was 4 different states, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. Oklahoma kind of got a Oklahoma maybe. And and so, but those were all go and comes. We never spent the night. It's definitely a huge difference, like we said, living on the road with your horse.
Yeah. So you get into 2009. What was the very first rodeo you went to in 2009?
Oh my goodness.
January, Denver, something like that? Or did you start in October?
I probably started in October.
Really?
I don't really remember, but I know I probably went to Denver that year.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, 08, I didn't do real great. So, like, some of the bigger rodeos, I
qualifications.
I remember we entered Austin that year, didn't figure, and I got in Austin, and we just thought we were on top of the world. I got in Austin. Cool. So, I do remember I went to Austin.
Yeah.
So
going through that whole process, right? So you went year round, you go into the summer run. What was your summer run like? I mean, I know I'm asking you to go back to a long time ago, but it's just interesting to hear like someone's first real year on the road. Like everybody has a little bit different experience. I'm just curious about yours.
On short go, you're talking about 09 on short go?
Yeah, just, you know, when you go into that crazy 4th of July run and all that, I mean, that's pretty overwhelming thing.
Yeah, especially, so I did go, you asked what in the first rodeos, I did go to Tucson. I remember short go did really good at Tucson. That was a big rodeo I went to at the beginning. And then the summer run, so I am so bad with dates and all, but I think in 09 is the year short go won Greeley. And so, like, once again, we're kind of new at this pro rodeo thing. So we did all the South Dakotas. We did our first run at Greeley, and then we would go do the Dakotas, and then we would drive all night on July 3rd to come make the short round on July 4th at Greeley. I'm like, there's no way my horse can make this run. First of all, I mean, you know, it's kind of insane on July 4th because you make so many runs, like back to back to back, in so many days in a row, and you feel like, or I feel like I'm like torturing my horse. I'm like, is this really how we do this? And I told my husband, I'm like, the fact that he has to drive all night and then run at a midday perf at Greeley, I think we put him in a stall and he got to rest for like a few hours, and on we go again. And I'm like, there's no way. And he just like
ate it up.
Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure that's the year he won Greeley.
Greeley's one of those weird places too.
And you know that weird ground and the harder type ground? That was short go's type of ground.
Really? That's what he liked?
Oh, yeah.
He liked rodeo ground then.
Oh,
specific.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Like the harder the ground and the louder the people, the more he liked it. Like you put him in a little coliseum with firm ground, that's where he liked to shine.
Really?
And so like Greeley, you put him in deep ground, like sometimes San Antonio's a little deeper and he don't shine as much.
Really?
Yeah. He probably wasn't the fastest cookie in the jar. Oh, my goodness. But he was so, such a big heart, just tried and so consistent.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key more than anything, probably, is the consistency, especially with pro horses.
And in 09, like, it wasn't an easy path to the NFR. I had to earn every dollar of it. So we didn't go. I've never been to Pendleton. I would love to go to Pendleton.
You still haven't been?
I'm like mixed emotions about Pendleton. I want to go run there, but my thought was always, how can I do that to my horse? That is such a long run, but it looks so fun. I mean,
Pendleton's amazing.
Probably going to have to do that to one of my horses.
Top 3 rodeos anywhere, I feel like.
Oh, I bet. I've got to do that experience. But then, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the last rodeo of the season. No. Albuquerque. Sorry, I had to have some help there. Albuquerque. I had to win money at Albuquerque, most likely, to make it to the NFR. I was battling, I think there was like 3 of us right there, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And I fought all the way. And short go had to win money at Albuquerque, and he did phenomenal. I mean, you know, when you look back, you're like, you don't want to be that person on the bubble because it's so hard because it could go either way because it's gone both ways for me. I've been on the bubble and made it, and I've been on the bubble and I've not made it. But when you're on the bubble and you do make it, I just think it makes it so much sweeter. Yeah. I mean, the win at Albuquerque was like, wow, that was cool.
Like just a ton of relief, probably weight off your shoulders.
And
like
happiness,
nothing else.
and me running around like a 2-year-old going, I just made it to the NFR. I just made it to the NFR.
Yeah. Well, especially your first time, and like it was like little fish, big pond, right? Because you're just doing these little overnight rodeos
Poor
and all
boys,
that.
remember?
Yeah.
Poor
Poor boy
boys.
rodeos. You're just poor boy rodeoing, and then to the next couple of years, all of a sudden, boom, you're going to the NFR. Did you come in the 15th? Oh,
14th, actually.
14th. So you just jumped up. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean,
Yes.
that's one of those experiences that you don't want to forget, probably.
Especially,
it's like a quick transition, really.
yeah. Yeah, and then you go to the NFR, and I remember thinking in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, so now I've made it to the NFR, and is my horse good enough to be running with all these, like Brittany and Mary Berger and
Sherry, the whole deal.
Yes, I'm like, what have I just done to myself? So that went through my head in the in-between from when you made it until you got there, and then finally you're like, I got this.
So you kind of had like this imposter syndrome, like I don't belong here thing going on in
Yes,
your
I
head?
did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In 09, I sure did. In the in-between months, I played with my head a lot. And then I'm like, you know what? You just got to go out there and do the best you can, let the cards fall where they are. And I'll never forget my very first run. I was winning the round all the way. That's my very first run at the NFR. I was winning the round all the way to the very last girl.
Mm-hmm.
They had the round horse ready for me to get on.
Yep.
And thanks Brittany Posey.
Bernie freaking Posey.
She knocked me to second, and therefore I never got my victory lap and my gold buckle at the finals 09. I'm not going to let you live that down, Brittany.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get yours.
I hope so.
What was your initial impression of Thomas and Mack, though, in 2009 when the first time you got to see that?
So it's just like a, what do you call it when, like, starstruck?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you first get there, because, you get there a few days in advance because you got to practice for the grand entry and you got to do all these meetings and all, and you're just like, wow. I mean, just wow, I guess. I don't know. This is cool. This is pretty darn cool. I get to run down the Thomas and Mack, as everybody always calls it.
The tunnel, yeah.
Alleyway. Yeah, tunnel. I can't wait. I couldn't wait. So then I went from like, am I supposed to be here to, wow, this is cool.
Like, wow, I want to be here every year.
Yes. Can we just, everybody like 10 runs is a lot. I'm like, oh, no way. I'll run 20 runs. This is fun. Mm-hmm. But about the 7th run, I'm like, okay, have we made 25 runs yet? It was a lot.
Yeah. Were you surprised by all of the things that were required of you outside of just that run?
I was. Yeah, there is a lot required of you, but I didn't have hardly any sponsors at that point. So I didn't have near as much going on as a lot of the girls. So, yeah, they keep you pretty busy, though. Even from just like your horse stuff, from practicing for the grand entry to practice for the barrels in the mornings with your horse and the performances at night, and then some autograph signings. But like I said, my schedule wasn't near as busy as a lot of the girls.
Sure. Yeah. And you left, though, with an overwhelming feeling that you couldn't wait to come back the next year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't wait. Then Short Go had a really good start to the next year in 10. He was actually made it back to the short round at Tucson and San Angelo, which are in February. But he was already he'd already won a lot. He was better at the winter rodeos than the horse I'm running now. And then that's when I lost Short Go.
Yeah.
In 10.
Yeah. What did that do to you? What did that do to you? Obviously it changes virtually every plan that you have if you lose a horse like that.
Oh, for sure. So it was pretty devastating. My horses are, right next to them, right behind my family. And sometimes my family said they're in front of them, but they're not. But they're pretty special to me. And when I lost him, it was like I lost a family member. And the way it happened was, it was hard. You're like, how am I going to get through this? I have no idea. Obviously, I made it, right. But your plans change a lot. So I had to go back to the training arena and start training again. Can't afford to buy them, so I trained them, and then it took me several years to get me another one that I could rodeo on.
Yeah.
So and then came along Radar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen Radar. He was all cut and bred, and he's what allowed me to start rodeoing again. And he was phenomenal. And almost made it to the NFR in 14.
Yeah.
and then we missed it by a little under 1,000. And I tinkered with him for several years. He kind of got some soundness issues, and so he got into some bad habits, and it became a struggle. We still tried to rodeo because once I started, I was addicted. I mean, it's hard. Even when you have a horse that you know can do it but really isn't capable right now, you still want to do it just because you want to do it.
Yeah, it's hard not, especially once you've been, you're like, what it takes to do it.
Yeah.
But if your horse just can't quite make it, I mean, it's a weird place to be in.
Yeah,
it's like limbo. Yeah,
you want to say, are you sure? Well, let's go try. Let's just go try. And we would go try, and we would come back home. So, and then came along Kiss. And wow. My words for her is just wow. She surprises me every day of my life. And Phoebe. Phoebe's phenomenal too. But, yeah, she's a special girl.
Yeah.
She knows it too.
They all, like the real special ones do.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't even matter what their job is. They just know.
Yes, she definitely knows. She's, she got a little bit of an attitude. But she's a good girl.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you've been to Thomas and Mack, you've done the whole deal, and then in 2020 you come in, pretty strong, and we get hit with all this crap, this COVID nonsense that wrecked virtually everything about last year. Somehow they still ended up coming through with an NFR, and you get to be a part of kind of that historical Texas NFR. What was that? What was your initial opinion and impression of, the year, and what was it that made you want to continue to rodeo? A lot of people didn't, but you decided to. Well,
so, like when that first hit, you're like, give it a week or two, it'll be done. And then when it just went on and on and on, I mean, I know a lot of posts were like, oh, y'all, rodeo's not going to make or break you. You're going to be okay. And it's not, but gosh, I sure do like to do it. And so, I mean, every month that went on with the COVID, then we didn't have any rodeos. It was driving me crazy. It drove me so crazy that the first rodeo back, they had one rodeo in Arizona, I think.
Yep.
And I drove all...
Canyon. Was it Canyon or Cave Creek? Yeah.
Yeah, Cave Creek. I drove all the way out there like a smart person. Didn't do any good. Drove all the way back. I just wanted to rodeo again. And so when they opened them up, I was ready to go. So I don't care that COVID shut out. So, obviously we were rodeo and didn't even know if they were going to have an NFR because who knows what was going to happen in 2020. It was the craziest year ever. But so glad that they did. I really enjoy rodeo, and I really miss, I really miss it when it wasn't there. So I was all in when they cranked it back up.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course you come in. I think you came in like 6th or something like that into the NFR.
6 or I think 7. I think
somewhere in that range.
Yeah, close.
Could be 6 or 7.
Yeah, yeah. And Kiss was young, and so she was only 6 last year when we went to the NFR, but she's handled everything I thrown at her, so I thought she'll be fine. And so whenever I found out it was going to be a big standard pattern at Globe Life Field, I was pretty excited because the winter part of rodeo is not really Kiss's thing. Like the indoors, she doesn't free up and run. She's going to go work all the time, but she just won't free up and run, or she hasn't in the past several years. The summer's where she excels, and she likes those big old outdoor pens. So the fact that a lot of the rodeos in 2020 were in the summer run was probably an advantage for her. And then whenever the NFR was going to be a big standard pattern, I was excited because I didn't know. 10 runs, she would probably get comfortable and start running Shirley at the Thomas and Mack, but I didn't know. That was not really her strong point. So, and she did great. I'm super proud of her. She did phenomenal. The fact that even our warm-up area was kind of in the chaos and the run, and we just never could get out of it, I think kind of started bothering her a little bit mentally. And so I switched horses, which is a big standard run. I probably should have switched anyway. And then I brought Phoebe out, and Phoebe was 7, and wow, she did phenomenal too.
Yeah, definitely.
I've never had 2 horses to run. When I got Kiss and Phoebe, that, you first of all, you think, oh, wow, you got 2 horses, you're lucky. And I am. I had to learn how to use them, like who likes what, where to run which one. And so the first year I had them was a kind of learning process on that. And so when Phoebe did so good at the NFR, that was good for my heart. I was proud for her.
Yeah.
So, but I liked the NFR being at Globe Life Field.
It was cool.
Yeah. Maybe if they could move our warm-up area outside, which... Is that an option?
Yeah. Too late now.
Where we're not just in the loud so much.
Right. Yeah, it was crazy with the number of people that were allowed to be in there, how noisy it actually was for how massive that place is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they pulled it off. I mean,
yeah. No, they did awesome. It was just the energy. So Kiss is a little flighty anyway. So you just add that extra energy and it just but like I said, I thought she did phenomenal. She just kind of, you know, the more she's like, Mom, how many times are we going to do this? So, okay, Kiss, you can have a break, and it's Phoebe's turn. And so they both, I'm so happy for both of them.
Yeah.
They make me smile every day. You know, the older you get, the more you appreciate things like that.
Yeah, you know how rare it is to
Yes.
have two great horses, especially nowadays.
Yes.
They're so unattainable.
Yes, I totally agree.
So it's very unique.
My husband always kind of compare it to, we're like an NFR horse is looking for the quarterback of the NFL football team.
Yep.
I mean, there's not very many of them. There's
No.
not.
And the ones that are out there are just, the value is just
Yes,
it's unbelievable to think that horses can be worth that much money for a rodeo.
I agree.
It's cool to see.
I was asked if I would sell Kiss a couple of occasions, and there's no price tag on Kiss. You can't buy happiness. She makes me happy.
Right. That's a great way to put it, I think.
Oh, she would never be for sale.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Her or Phoebe.
there's a lot of people who feel that way about their horses. I'll never forget how many people, like when Ivy first went on Tibby, you know, because we bred and raised that mare, you know, top to bottom. And when people from all over the country, and then some people from like Brazil, and they start throwing out numbers with like lots
of
zeros behind them.
Yeah.
And to kind of get to watch, like, that was one of the things I always liked about Ivy, just like you. Like, and she's my sister, and people get mad when I talk about her around here too much. But it's just a unique thing, right? When you see somebody who's like, I don't care if there's 100 zeros. I don't care if it's $1 billion. I'm not selling her. Right?
I feel the same way.
It's just, there's a conviction there and an attachment to that horse that just, no money's going to overcome that.
Yeah, I had a guy tell me.
Saying.
Yes. I mean, you couldn't put enough zeros behind your number.
Yep.
I mean, there's not even enough. I had a guy tell me that horses don't get attached. All they want you to do is feed them. That's what makes them happy. And I'm going to have to disagree.
There's no way that's true.
My horses, I hope, love me.
Well, you can tell, like, if you have a real connection with your horse, like, or you see somebody who does, you see how that horse reacts to people who aren't their person. They're kind of like dogs, just not as emotional.
Right.
You know, at least not upfront emotional like dogs are. I mean, they don't wag their tails and stuff.
Right. You can just tell.
They are like that. Like,
yes.
There's certain horses who only react certain ways to people. I mean, you ever see those horses where you put a kid on them and they run off with the kid, or they buck the kid off because the kid's energy is wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very common.
Yeah, and then right the opposite, you see those horses that you bring a kid along and they turn into the puppy dog. Yes.
Yep. It goes both ways.
It does. It definitely does. In fact, you know, Kiss reacts to my husband Rex like when she's being psycho, which she can be sometimes. And he'll come up and she'll just put her head down kind of in his chest. And I've told him before, I'm like, I think Kiss might love you more than she does me, so why don't you just run her? Because she can get, sometimes there's occasions, it's not all the time, so she's kind of high-strung naturally, but there's occasions where she just like, I'm talking like, Kiss, well, I mean, what the heck, where are you I mean, she just flies off the handle. And so he'll come. I'm like, you're gonna have to come help me with her. I think I'm gonna die. And so he'll have to come calm her down, or even get her. I mean, and so even his bond with her is strong.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all about energy with horses, I've found.
Yes.
So it's, and everybody who spends enough time around them do realize that.
I think so.
I
agree.
They're interesting creatures, right? Like, there's just not many things. Cows aren't like that. Cows don't have any energy.
I know.
But
I agree.
horses, there's nothing to a cow, really. Like, at least not the way there is with a horse. There's just something unique about them. That's probably why people have always utilized horses for everything, for like all of history, because there's just something unique about them.
I agree. My vet, when he sees, like, Kiss is so sweet and just, I don't know, when you're around her, she just seems like just such a personable horse. So she is, as long as you touch from her shoulders to her head. Mm-hmm. If you get behind her shoulders, she turns into a dragon. She's like grinding them teeth and just, I don't know, she just, that's the no-no zone.
Some uncomfortability there for her.
I get probably when she was younger and we were back to the ulcer thing probably. And,
right.
But anyway, like if somebody comes to her stall to pet on her, like that happened at Fort Worth, the little girl, I mean, just the sweetest, put her head in your chest. But when you're saddling her, you're like, don't you bite me. I mean, she gets in trouble, obviously, but I mean, she just, so I was telling Dr. Hannes about how sometimes at the rodeo she flies off the handle, like completely off the handle. And he goes, Kiss? I'm like, yes, Kiss. I mean, because when we're at the vet, it's quiet and she don't have a saddle or a bridle and he's taking care of her and she likes to be taken care of. So her attitude's great. And then you get to the rodeo and the intensity, I believe she loves running barrels, but
it's like a boxer lacing up his gloves. You got to change your mentality. And the horses, some horses do that.
Yes. That's a good point. I mean, that's a good comparison. I said, she's like a darn dragon, or I don't know, just some vicious animal at the rodeo sometimes. And he just can't ever believe that.
Yeah. Put their game face on. I mean, that's why, like, I'll never be able to handle people who say, like, oh, you're forcing them to do that. Like, no, the good ones, you're not forcing them to do anything. You're just along for the ride.
If you're forcing them to do it, they're probably not excelling.
They're not going to do it. I mean, we've all had dink horses for any number of things. Like, I've had so many dink rope horses who were like, I'm not doing this shit for nobody.
Right.
And then you have the ones who grit down and they do it. I mean, they know their purpose.
Yeah.
So people who don't understand that, I mean, they have no business talking about it, really.
I agree. And I strongly believe that for your horse to be good, they have to enjoy what they're doing and be happy doing it.
Yep.
I do believe that.
Yeah, I don't think you can force a barrel horse, like especially a barrel horse, right? Because that is a tough race. Like it's not a quarter mile, right? That's a tough race, and they've got to buckle down, bear down, and it puts a lot of pressure on their joints every time they run. And I mean, it's a big deal for a horse to do that.
Right. Yeah, I agree totally. One of my vets always told me horses weren't meant to run barrels. I'm like, sure they were. He goes, no, you don't just like go run in there as fast as you possibly can. Stop, turn, run as fast as you can. Stop, turn, run. I'm like, sure they were. I mean, they do it and they like it. And
look at the way their bodies move, like especially the elites. I mean, like Kiss or any of them who make it. Like, look at the way their bodies move.
Yeah,
you can't tell me they're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like when they do like the slow mo videos. Sometimes, like I saw a slow mo video at that invitational race, the X Factor race.
Yeah,
and just. I don't know. I know this sounds kind of corny, but like just the ripple in their flanks as they're pushing off, and I mean you can just see I don't know, what am I trying to say? The amount of effort it takes, and they're like just trying so hard. So, I saw a picture from Houston of one of my horses, and you really don't think about it until you actually see the picture where she's running straight, probably home, and as she's striding out, pretty much her ankle is touching the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're like, oh, that looks like it hurts.
Yeah, it's a good point, because if you look at the way the horses are built, right, and they're kind of one stationary plane, and there's this and a bend here, and then that same thing, but the opposite on the backside. There's not a whole lot. Like, if you look at a dog's body, the whole thing is real bendy, kind of, right? Like, if you play with your dog, like, the whole dog shifts around and bends, and that's why they can do those crazy obstacle. Horses aren't built like that. They're built like brick shit houses. And so for a barrel horse to be able to move and turn, or a cutter, or a rein, I mean, some of those things that those cow horses do, too. I mean, you look at it, it's like, it takes the special ones to be able to do it.
I agree, and that's why
they're not built to bend like that, really.
Right. And that's kind of like your point, saying trying to force the barrel horse. No, all the effort and athletic ability that they have to put into it, they've got to want to do it a little bit.
They do. Yeah. And you see them, like, you'll see horses that aren't sound, and they'll push and win rounds and do all that. It's like, that doesn't, if they're just flighty animals and there's nothing to them, they ain't going to do that.
No.
Because everybody has a horse who's done that. They go out and perform, and they're beat to hell.
Right. And then, like you said, it goes back to the connection with your horse, too. They got to want to do it for you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Push through some of the variables and want to do it and be the best they can.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes I wish they could talk, though, so we could, you know.
I mean, have you talked to Kathleen Daigle? She'll tell you they could talk.
I know, but
Have
I
you
saw
done that
that
yet?
on one. No, but I should, shouldn't I?
I think you should give that lady a call. She freaked us out, I'll tell you that.
Did she really?
Yeah, Riley had to sit in the corner and just hug her knees for about 2 hours.
Freak out in a good way, by the way.
Yeah. Well, just like, okay. Because I'm like, all right, sell me the snake oil. Come on. Sell me the snake oil. Nope, it's real.
Really?
It's real.
I had a friend that did that, and it was just so funny because she's like, I'm out here with my horse, and I don't think it was with her. It was with
Somebody else who does it.
Yeah, and she's like, this lady's telling me what my horse is doing, and she has no idea.
Yep.
That's kind of odd.
It's weird. I'm going to tell you, it's weird.
Yeah.
And the number of people, like big-time rodeo people, barrel racers, team ropers, tie-down ropers, who use her, like on the sly, because they're like, I want to know about this. I don't know anybody who's went to her who it wasn't 100% on the money and it didn't help.
Really?
Yeah.
I have
unique.
to say, I have not done it yet. I did have a chiropractor one time. I would say, well, why do you think this? And he would always say, well, you got to let the horse tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell me that so much that finally I'm like, if you tell me that one more time, I'm just going to, she's not talking very loud. And that he brought up that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when my friend called one of them.
Mm-hmm. Do it. She's the one I would say to use. I don't know any other ones, but
Right.
it would be interesting for you,
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah, because she was doing all kinds of stuff in here, and we're like, she didn't miss.
Really?
She didn't miss.
That is cool.
And there's no way she could have known. There's no way. There's no hints, no nothing. She's looking at a picture.
Really?
Yeah. It was weird. I'd have a drink or two after that. Like, this lady's
That's
a witch.
pretty-
She's a witch.
That's pretty cool, though.
It is cool. It's interesting because it just adds, like, if you know that that's a thing with horses, she's like, you don't understand. Horses they're really intelligent. They're really intellectual. They have a lot of feelings. If you know how to listen, they talk as clear as you and I are speaking. Because I was really trying to figure out what she meant by them talking. So I'm like, okay, just so I know, you mean they actually speak like words to you? And she's like, just like you and me.
Really?
But in like a French Canadian kind of voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting. Do
That
it.
is definitely
Do it and
interesting.
report back.
Okay.
Yeah. We'd like to hear about that.
Okay. That's something I should do.
I think so. Yeah. I think anybody should do it if you're at a high level, just to see. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. She might get you hooked when she tells you that thing that you're, like you said, you're like, there's no way you can know that.
I think she probably, that's
Yeah.
the gimmick.
Yeah.
It's not a gimmick, but I think that's the deal.
That got you
Yeah,
hooked.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the car dealerships with the inflatable arm.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. You just can't stop. You just can't look away after that.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, I'm very glad you came by. You were a highly intellectual horsewoman. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank y'all for inviting me. This is a cool opportunity for me.
I'm
Hold on,
glad to
before,
hear it.
Before you go, Riley has asked me to ask you, tell us about the fist bump at Kissimmee.
Oh my goodness. So the fist pump at Kissimmee. So, I look forward to running Kiss. I just look forward to every run I get to make on her. I cannot wait for my next run on her. So I had made my first 2 runs and they went good. I didn't win any money in the second run, but it was a good solid Kiss run. And so in the 8th round, when I talk about Kiss, the words just won't come out of my mouth because I don't know how to explain the feeling that she gives me. It's unexplainable. Mm-hmm. The happiness, the gratefulness, the thankfulness, the how did I get this horse in my life just starts flowing out of me. And I'm sure everybody's like, oh my gosh, okay, enough of that. But anyway, so the 8th round, it was just one of those runs. And so we went to the trailer because I already had my other horse saddled. I was thinking about switching horses because I just didn't want to run her twice in a row. And we went out there and she recovered so well. And so we just said, she got this far, let's let her keep going. So when she made the run, so my second run, she was real ratey, so I knew it probably wasn't quite as fast. So when she made that 4-round run, I knew she was running and I knew it was good, but we couldn't see the timer. But I spotted him, my husband Rex, just past the alleyway as I was running out. And as I crossed the timer, I saw him go, yes! And so I went, yes! back to him. Therefore, the fist pump was back to my husband Rex because I knew she had done it. I knew Kiss had pulled through and done it. It was cool.
That is really cool.
It was. So I was fist pumping him.
That was a good question, Riley, coming through with the questions.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We have the full story now behind
Yes. I was fist pumping Rex back, he could see the timer. It was on the top of the arena, but I couldn't. So I didn't know. I knew it was a good run, but you don't never know how fast. I mean, you're barrel race, so you know. And when he did that, I knew.
That's how you need to end the podcast.
Yeah. Put your fist in the air, and then we'll just post that on Instagram.
Yeah. Now go Kiss.
Well, all right. We're going to let you guys get on with your day. Thanks for coming. I had a blast.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
This has been The Gauge, hosted by me, Chance Conrado, produced and edited by our guy Ty Yeager. Shout out to the executive producers Dustin Pointer and Cody Denton. Marketing and content produced by Riley Chone. Our theme song is by Shay Ashshire and the Night Howlers. Make sure to rate and review this podcast, as well as follow The Gauge on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure to subscribe to The Gauge wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you guys next time.